you get a letter saying, you haven't kept up with the standard of care.
Yikes.
And the standard of care is, unfortunately, it's not a fine line. It's a range. And as long as you're not outside of the bell curve, a lot of people practice above the standard of care. They're providing optimal care. As long as you're not below the range on the other side of the bell curve, because once you fall below the standard of care, and listen, today's standard of care is very different than what 5 years ago was. So what met the standard of care 5 years ago does not meet the standard of care now. And most of these practice acts actually have a standard of care for documentation now, separate and distinct from treatment.
Wow.
So you can be, disciplined for just not keeping good records, even though you're providing fantastic care.
Like you said, yeah, you could be the best surgeon in the world, but if you don't have good documentation, you're still at risk. Well,
and similar to your industry, it's so highly regulated.
Big time, yes. And documentation, as you were saying that, I'm like, oh, she could be doing a presentation to the wealth management industry right now.
It's really, these are a lot of very transferable, sort of talking points. I think if you're a professional and your career and your livelihood are at risk, and you've gone through you jump through all these hoops. For me, it's the bar exam. For somebody else, it's their board certification. For you, it's a Series 7 or whatever the appropriate. You don't want to lose that. So one of the things that I say to people is that if you are dealing with a risk that has become a reality, we hope that you mitigate the risk before it becomes a reality. And that's about the proactivity piece.
Yep.
But if a risk has become a reality, damage control has to be quick. And what that means is, let's say a patient is unhappy with an outcome and they're saying, I'm going to sue you. I'm going to file a complaint with the board. Don't wait for them to sue you. Don't think it's going to go away.
And again, like you said, I mean, that's probably just about any industry, right? Just like if someone is posting on a website and giving a bad review, I think one of the worst things that a business can do is tear down the review, not respond to it, negatively respond to it. Basically anything that's not respond to it in a crisp, immediate, as soon as possible type fashion.
100% right.